Raghba, meaning that one should have inclination towards ilm. One should have inclination. You should be attracted to ilm, like a magnet. And hirs, translation of hirs, usually in Arabic, is greed, avarice. We will translate it as desire towards knowledge. So raghba, hirs, and tamassuk. Tamassuk is that one should have the understanding that by acquiring ilm, I will be adherent towards it, that I will adhere to whatever I will learn, and whatever I acquire, I will try to imbibe it, and hopefully it will be engendered in my daily routine and in my lifestyle. So there are three things: raghba, hirs, and tamassuk. This should be our intention today, that to acquire ilm, to edify ourselves, to illuminate our lives, to enlighten our deen, our Islam. These are the three qualities which are needed, which are a requisite. And the purpose of ilm is that our a'mal are corrected. That whatever we do for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever amal we do, the a'mal are correct, because it is through our a'mal that we will attain paradise. It is through the a'mal which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant us salvation, our good deeds. Nawawi rahmatullah alayhi, in his kitab Riyadul Salihin, a very accepted book, in his muqaddimah, the prologue, the prolegomena, as some people would call it, he mentions a beautiful shi'r, some few couplets. He says that inna lillahi ibadan futuna طلقوا الدنيا وخافوا الفتنة نظروا فيها فلما علموا إنها ليست لحي وطنا جعلوها لجة ماذا؟ واتخذوا صالح الأعمال سفنا. So Imam Nawawi rahmatullah alayhi, in these couplets, he mentions that verily Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there are slaves who are intelligent. And those who are intelligent, we have to, what is the yardstick of intelligence? So the yardstick of intelligence isn't one who has spent time at a university, who has a PhD, who has a master's, who has various degrees, who is an architect, who is an engineer, who is a physician. The yardstick of intelligence is ma'rifat of Allah, recognition of Allah. This is the yardstick of intelligence. That one understands that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is our creator, and that it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who we perform our acts of virtue for. So the yardstick of intelligence is ma'rifat, is recognition that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one. So those individuals who recognize Allah, who recognize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one, they will be very particular in displaying obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, showing obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they will strive to be better in amal, and they will strive to do better indeed. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that verily, Imam Nawawi rahmatullahi alayhi, he says, verily there are people who have intelligence. They have recognized Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they have recognized that to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one must constantly be cognizant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One must be aware of the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So to do this, it is important that we leave material behind. That whatever we have in this dunya, whatever we have in this world, this is materialistic. And it is finite and will not last forever. So these people, what they did was طَلَّقُوا الدُّنْيَا وَخَافُوا الْفِتَنَةَ. They disassociated themselves from the dunya, from the material, because it made them oblivious from the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the ma'rifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the cognizance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they disassociated themselves from the dunya because they feared the various trials and tribulations. In this world, everywhere we look, it is a trial, it is a tribulation. So they disassociated themselves. Then they scrutinized the world. They scrutinized it, and they realized, they came to the realization that that this is not a place for the living. It is not appropriate for the living. It is very difficult. We are constantly surrounded by difficulties, by trials and tribulations when we leave our home. Right? Everything that we see, it is against Islam, or our iman is placed in jeopardy. So these individuals, looking at this, they said that, this dunya is a fitna. So they made it into a chasm, an abyss, right? Or a ditch which has a lot of water. And they made their a'mal, they made their good deeds a safina, a boat which they used to cross these treacherous seas. So this dunya, this is what it is. The world is this materialistic world that we see around us. In reality, it is a fitna, and it is a test to see how well we do. It is a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created each and every single one of us. Ayyukum ahsanu amala. Which one of us is best in amal? Which one of us is best indeed in our a'mal? So the topic was that the importance of acquiring knowledge the prophetic way. So I'm reminded of an incident which took place with Imam Malik rahmatullahi. Everyone is familiar with Imam Malik, I'm sure. Imam Malik was one of the great mujtahideen, and many people from far off, many scholars from far distances, they would come and visit Imam Malik rahmatullahi to listen to hadith. He was an exceptional scholar of hadith. The scholars, they have said that when it came to hadith, Malik al-Najm, that Malik, he was a star. And his knowledge of hadith was such that when people would go back with his hadith, with his narrations, they had many asatiza, they had many teachers. So people, they would have majalis where they would narrate that, okay, today I'm going to narrate the hadith of Fulan bin Fulan. So some people would show up. And when they would say that today I will narrate the ahadith of Imam Malik bin Anas, and the whole masjid would be full, which indicated the status of Hazrat Malik, Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi. So Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi, he was in Medina. He only left Medina once for Makkah, for Hajj. So throughout his whole life he spent in Medina. Very great scholar. So one of the narrators of Muwatta is translated as, in English, the well-trodden path. The well-trodden path, meaning these are the ahadith which everyone is very well acquainted with. So, there was a scholar by the name of Yahya bin Yahya al-Laythi. Many scholars, they narrated the Muwatta from Imam Malik. The two common narrators are Imam Muhammad, rahmatullah alayhi, student of Abu Hanifa, and later Imam Abu Yusuf, rahmatullah alayhi, and Yahya bin Yahya al-Laythi. These are two Muwattas. So Yahya bin Yahya al-Laythi, he was from Spain, present-day Spain. And he came to Imam Malik rahmatullah alayhi to listen to Hadith. So in Medina at the time, there was a procession of elephants. So this was something unusual, peculiar in Medina. No one would see elephants in Medina. So many of the students of Imam Malik, they left the majlis to go look at these elephants. So Yahya bin Yahya al-Laythi, he remained there in the majlis of Imam Malik. So Imam Malik rahmatullah alayhi, he asked him that, why have you not left? This elephant is an unusual animal. You don't see it in your country. So why don't you go out and see the elephant? Because Yahya bin Yahya al-Laythi said that I haven't come over here to look at elephants. I've come here to acquire ilm and to listen to ahadith. And this is what he did. He stayed with Imam Malik, Lazim Imam Malik, Mulazama, and he took his Muwatta, he took the narrations. And in Spain, it is through the barakat and through the efforts of this Yahya bin Yahya al-Laythi that the Muwatta is amongst us today. So to this day, it was his efforts. And this is an indicator that for one to propagate and promulgate knowledge, that devotion, complete devotion must be there. Complete devotion. One must immerse himself completely in ilm and in tahsil ilm. There cannot be any focus on other things. And if there's focus on other things, then there will be some holes. So one must completely immerse himself in that environment and in that area, in that teacher, to correctly acquire knowledge and then to disseminate that knowledge, which is also a responsibility, because ilm is right. It is the legacy of the Prophet ﷺ. When I say ilm, I don't mean ilm in general, the ilm of engineering or the ilm of tayyib, or ilm of various disciplines. I mean the ilm which is specific to the Prophet ﷺ, the ilm of hadith. So this ilm, it is the legacy of the prophets. That the prophets, they have left a legacy. This is the wirathat, the inheritance of the Prophet. The prophets, they don't leave dinars and they don't leave dirham, they don't leave any monetary wealth behind. What they leave is ilm. And it's through this ilm that the Sahaba, they illuminated their lives, they enlightened their lives, and they enlightened others. There's a story, which I'm sure many of the ulama in the gathering they are familiar with, where the depth of the knowledge which the Sahaba had, the story really, it's an indicator to them. It really displays the depth of their knowledge. So, this riwayah, this narration, is narrated by Hazrat Zir bin Hubaysh, rahmatullah alayhi. Zir bin Hubaysh narrates this. And he said that there was two people, and they were sitting down for some breakfast. One of them had 5 pieces of bread, and the other one had 3 pieces of bread. Okay. Now a man comes along, and they invite him. It's breakfast time. you're hungry. So they invite him. And this man comes, has food with them, has breakfast with them. And he gives them 8 dirhams. He gave them 8 dirhams. This was in the Khilafat. This story took place in the Khilafat of Hazrat Ali. So he's Amir al-Mu'mineen. Ghaliban it took place in Kufa because this was the headquarters of Hazrat Ali. So he gave them 8 dirhams. Now, their dilemma, how should we distribute these 8 dirhams? The one who had 5 pieces of bread, he said, well, we should distribute it in proportion to how many pieces of bread we had. So I had 5 pieces, you had 3. So I'll take 5 dirhams and you have 3 dirhams. And that other person said, the one with the 3 breads, that no, it has to be equal. Because he gave it to both of us. So ultimately this issue came to Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu. Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu, he tells the guy who had 3 pieces of bread that, you know what, it's better that you just take the 3 because, you know, that person is doing ihsan on you, he's being kind with you. So you take 3 and let it go. He goes, no, I'm not going to let it go. What do you mean he's doing ihsan on me? I had 3 pieces of bread and he gave the dirhams to both of us. We deserve 4 and 4 each. So, as Ali radiallahu anhu said, well, if you want me to arbitrate this issue, then you're only deserving of one dirham. You don't deserve 4. Or even 3. You deserve 1. So I'm not prepared to take 3 dirhams and you're trying to do tanqis in my haqq. What's going on over here? So Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu said, okay. This person said, well, do explain that. You're Amir al-Mu'mineen, and we know about Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu. We hear in the second khutbah that Aqdahum Ali, that when it came to arbitration, Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu was exceptional. He had that distinction. So Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu said that, well, assuming that we don't know how much each of you ate, and there's no way to know how much each one ate, no one knows how much they have eaten, how many morsels were taken. So we will divvy up those pieces of bread into 3 people. So there's a total of 8 pieces. So 8 times 3 is how much? Any mathematicians? 24? 24. 24 pieces of bread. Right? So now the person who had 8 pieces, right? The person who had the 5 pieces, when you multiply that, how many is that? 15? Is that 15? Right? So he had 8. So he had 8 pieces of bread. Okay? So how many are left from 15? 7. And the other person who had 3 pieces of bread, right, you multiply that, and how many? 9? So how many pieces did he eat? 8. So how many did he have left? 1. So now that person ate 7 pieces from the person who had 5 pieces, and 1 piece from the person who had 3 pieces. So from this we see the depth of Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu. This was exceptional. The Sahaba, they were amazing individuals, and they really, when it came to taking from the Prophet ﷺ, acquiring knowledge from the Prophet ﷺ, they gave everything. Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu was a businessman, muhajir, and he was a businessman. So he had appointed someone in Masjid Nabawi that when I am not with the Prophet ﷺ, then it is your responsibility to write down whatever Rasulullah ﷺ says. So in this way, I don't miss anything. Nothing is missed. And I make sure that whatever Rasulullah ﷺ had to say, I can receive it. So this was the desire of Hazrat Umar radiallahu anh that he had appointed someone, although he was a businessman. But because his relationship with the Prophet ﷺ, their relationship with the Prophet ﷺ, the Sahaba's relationship with the Prophet ﷺ was so profound that they would make sure that others would properly seek knowledge from Rasulullah ﷺ, so they in turn could also benefit. So Hazrat Umar radiallahu anh, he had this fikr, he had this concern that when he is not there, at the least someone else should be there. We should realize that this knowledge of Deen, this is found amongst our Akabidin, the respect and this conformance to the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These Sahaba, their lives were in complete conformance to the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Once Hazrat Uthman, he was doing wudu, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he was doing wudu, and he smiled after his wudu. This is a narration in Musnad Ahmad, Sahih, an authentic narration. So in Musnad Ahmad, the narration, it says that he started to smile after completing wudu. So his people, they asked him that, why are you smiling? Why are you smiling? What is the reason that you are smiling? Because I saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam smiling. And this was an ittifaqi sunnah. This was coincidental. It was a coincidental sunnah. There are ittifaqi sunnahs, the way the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There are some sunnahs which are tashri'i, which are related to Sharia, and there are other sunnahs which are not related to Sharia. So this was not a tashri'i sunnah. This was not a sunnah which was premised on the Sharia, to smile after the wudu. But the Sahaba, they were so assiduous in imbibing and practicing the sunnahs of the Prophet ﷺ that they would take everything Rasulullah ﷺ had to offer. Whatever he did, they would take everything. I was speaking about the Akabirin and how their lives were in complete conformance to the Sunnah. So I'm reminded of Maulana Qasim Nanotwi, rahmatullah alayhi. Qasim Nanotwi was the student of Shah Abdul Ghani, Muhaddis Dehlawi. He was a student of Shah Ishaq, Muhaddis Dehlawi. He was a student of Shah Abdul Aziz Dehlawi. He was a student of Shah Waliullah Dehlawi. So Shah Waliullah Dehlawi, rahmatullah alayhi, he was the person, the great scholar responsible for bringing Hadith into the Indian subcontinent. It was through his barakat and his efforts. Shah Waliullah Dehlawi he was born 1702, I believe. And he spent time in Makkah with his teacher, Abu Tahir al-Kurdi, for 14 years. So prior to the efforts of Shah Waliullah Dehlawi, the highest book of Hadith which was taught in India was Mishkat. So someone who has studied Mishkat, that person would be considered a scholar. So he went to Makkah, stayed with Abu Tahir al-Kurdi for 14 years, and acquired sanad, acquired a chain from Abu Tahir al-Kurdi, and he brought that hadith back to India. And he is, we can say that he is the musnad of Hind. All the ulama who graduated from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, the Indian subcontinent, even the scholars who were in England and South Africa, America, their musnad rests at Shah Waliullah Dehlawi. It was through his efforts that the ahadith, the knowledge and discipline of ahadith came into India. So I was speaking about the conformance of our Akabirin regarding Sunnah. So Maulana Qasim Nanotwi, rahmatullah alayhi, he was a very great scholar, student of Shaykh Abdul Ghani, Muhaddis Dehlawi. So when we know that Deoband was initiated, it started in 1866. This was when Deoband began. And prior to Deoband, there was a reason why Deoband initiated. And the reason was that India, there was a fear of colonization in India. The British Raj, they had occupied India. And there was a fear that they may colonize all of India, make them into Christians. So, the Akabirin, they fought against the British. Right? In 1857, the Battle of Shamli, it is known as, that took place. So in this battle, Akabirin, the elders such as Maulana Qasim Nanotwi, Maulana Rashid Ahmad Gangohi, Hafiz Zamin Shaheed, Haji Imdadullah Muhajir Makki, these people who we often hear about. So they were all participants of that battle. Right? So this battle was lost by the Muslims. Many were martyred. Hafiz Zamin Shaheed, he was martyred in this battle. He was a very great scholar. And he was Ajib. I read this today. And he had a new set of clothing which he would wear for jihad, for the purpose of going out in jihad. So a new set of clothing. So in those clothing, in that, someone shot him. And Hazrat Gangohi, rahmatullah alayhi, Hazrat Gangohi was the student of Shah Abdul Ghani as well. Maulana Hazrat Shah Abdul Ghani Muhaddis Dehlawi. So he was the teacher of Maulana Yahya Khan Dehlawi, who is the father of Sheikh Zakaria, rahmatullah alayhi. Sheikh Zakaria, the author of Fadail Amal. Sheikh Zakaria, we know him to be the author of Fadail Amal, but in reality he was so much more than the author of Fadail Amal. He has many shuruhat on the Muwatta Imam Malik, the book that at the beginning I was speaking about. It's a voluminous commentary on the Muwatta, and ironically it's called Awjazul Masalik, the concise ways. Right? It's not concise at all. It's 15-20 volumes. It's written in Arabic, and it's related to it explains the ahadith of Muwatta. I digress. So I'm speaking about Maulana Qasim Nanotwi. So Maulana Qasim Nanotwi, he was advised that after they had lost the battle, he was advised that you need to go into hiding. So he went, he listened to his confidants and his family members. He went into hiding for 3 days. After 3 days he came out. I asked him, why are you out? There is no amnesty yet. You need to go back in hiding or they're going to kill you. So Maulana Qasim Nanotwi said that I'm not going to do this. Rasulullah also hid for 3 days in Ghar Hira, in the cave of Hira. I'm also going to do the same thing. This was their conformance to Sunnah. Very great ulama. So, yes, so Hafiz Zamin Shaheed, I was speaking about him. And Hafiz Zamin Shaheed, he was shot in this battle. So Hazrat Gangohi rahmatullah alayhi, he picked him up and took him to the nearby masjid, rested him on his thigh, and read Surah Yasin until his ruh left his body. In this battle, he achieved martyrdom. And he became shaheed. And his grave, which is still existent today, one person, I think, there was some people who went to his grave, and they started reading Quran, Isa al-Sawab, sending rewards to the deceased. This is Sunnah. So they started reciting Quran, and a voice came from the grave. This was Hafiz Zamin Shaheed's grave. A voice came from the grave and said that the person, the resident of this grave, the occupant of this grave, he is alive. the shuhada, they are alive. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Bali ahya," that they are alive and they are being sustained. And Quran is being recited. Quranic verses are being heard from the occupant, who was Hafidh Lamin Shaheed, which shows the status of the Akabirin and the status that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted them. So I was speaking about Deoband. So Deoband, the ulama, they feared that this ilm, this Islam, would be lost. If the British are successful and they colonize the Indian subcontinent with their Christianity and with their beliefs, then it is very likely that we will lose our faith, we will lose our Islam. So what do we do? What should we do to safeguard and protect our Iman? So the Akabirin, Maulana Rashid Gangohi, rahmatullah alayh, Maulana Qasim Nanutwi, rahmatullah alayh, these great elders, they got together and they said that we need to establish a madrasa. So the madrasa of Deoband began with the two Mahmuds, Mullah Mahmud and Maulana Sheikhul Hind, Mufti Mahmud al-Hasan rahmatullah alayh, became known as the Sheikul Hind. So it started under a pomegranate tree, an unassuming place. So the British, and this was very prudent, because the British, they were constantly they were the bane of the scholars. And many scholars, they laid their lives for the sake of ilm. And it became so bad at that time that there were very few scholars even to lead janazah. That they could not even lead janazah because there was this fear that the ulama, they would be killed or they would be hanged. And this was something that happened. Alhamdulillah, this mehnat, this effort of combining this knowledge into either one location or or various locations, madaris, the effort has been done. My teacher, Mufti Taqi Sahib, he would say that this knowledge today is in front of you, pakki pakai hui roti ki shakal mein, that it is in front of you as cooked bread. The mehnat has been done, the efforts, they have been done. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is sit in front and listen to the dars. That's all you have to do. And even in that we are naqis, we are deficient even in that. So all you need to do is listen. Nothing else. Mufti Taqi Sahib would always, at the beginning of his dars, he would encourage that you need to understand that you are here to acquire knowledge, and you need to devote yourself towards knowledge completely. And then I come back to the 3 points which I mentioned earlier: raghba, hirs, and tamassuk. Inclination, desire, and adherence. That this should be our motive and this should be our intention when acquiring knowledge. If we look at Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu, how long was he with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? With the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam for 3 years, 3 or 4 years. So he had accepted Islam, and many people, Orientalists as well, Munkireen Hadith, they object to Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu narrating so many hadith. He narrated more than 5,000 ahadith. How is that possible, narrating so many ahadith? So they objected. We have Orientalists such as Shacht and Junebol. They objected towards the veracity of the hadith corpus. Of course, our ulama, they answered those contentions and objections. So Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu, he had this zeal for knowledge, and he would always, shadidul mulazama with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He had this mulazama, this connection with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So once the Umayyad Khalif Marwan bin Hakam, he called him to test his memory, test his recollection. And he said that, He started speaking to him, and ultimately Abu Hurairah radiallahu anh started to narrate hadith. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anh started to narrate hadith. And after that, Abu Hurairah radiallahu anh departed, left the majlis. So, after a year, Marwan bin Hakam calls him back and asks him, last year you narrated some hadith for me. So would it be possible for you to narrate them again? And both times he had a scribe, right, writing down the ahadith that Abu Hurairah was narrating from memory. So he started narrating the hadith, no additions, no subtractions. No additions, no subtractions. And the hadith corpus today that we have in front of us, this is without any addition, this is without any subtraction. Research has been done on this. There's a book by Dr. Hamidullah. Dr. Hamidullah, I believe he was 94 years old when he passed away in Florida. So he found the Sahifa of Hazrat Hammam bin Munabbih, the student of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anh. So in this Sahifa, this was very ancient, and this was probably one of the first authored works on hadith. So it contained approximately, if my memory serves me correct, about 120 something hadith. And ulama are welcome to correct me, inshallah. So in this book, Dr. Hamidullah, he writes that I looked at that Sahifa of Hazrat Hammam bin Munabbih, who is the student of Abu Hurairah, and I compared it with the ahadith of Abu Hurairah, which are found in Bukhari, in Muslim, in Tirmizi, Abu Dawood, Ibn Majah, and I found nothing to be altered. Most of those ahadith, they were incorporated into the 6 canonical books. So I found no addition, no subtraction. This was one of the first authored books, probably 50, 60 years after the Prophet ﷺ was written. And yet, Imam Bukhari came 200 years after. But when comparing the ahadith, no subtraction, no addition, which shows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, similar to how the Quran is preserved and protected and safeguarded, similarly the ahadith corpus is also protected and safeguarded. So I was speaking about Raghba, Hirs and Tamassuk. Let us look at Hazrat Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu and his prowess in memory retention. So Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, when the Prophet ﷺ departed from this world, he was approximately 13 years old. 12 or 13 years old, Allahu A'lam, somewhere along. That was the age. He was very young lad. But many ahadith narrated from Ibn Abbas. And the Sahaba, they had so much love for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And because of that love that they had for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they would memorize and take everything that they could from the Prophet. They would not leave anything. Everything was taken. So there was a poet by the name of Umar bin Rabi'a. So he came and recited, the Arabs were very big on poetry. So he recited 70 verses of poetry. And after he left, they started to discuss. It was a majlis, so they started to discuss the couplets, 70 couplets. So they started to discuss, and there was some ikhtilaf, there was some incongruity as to, exactly what that person said, what the poet said. So Ibn Abbas radiallahu anh corrected. This is what he said. Because what, you remember what he said? And he said, of course, I remember actually all 70. Whatever he said, I remember all 70. Nothing has escaped me. But this was their memory prowess. Their memories were amazing. Imam Shafi rahmatullah alayhi, the reason why our memories are so poor is that we don't protect ourselves from sin. And this is further attested by Imam Shafi rahmatullahi when he complained to his teacher Waqi. Waqi was a great scholar of Hadith, kana yufti bi madhhabi Abi Hanifa, that he would give fatwa on the madhhab of Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi. He was a Kufan. So Imam Shafi rahmatullahi, he complained to Waqi, shakawtu ila Waqi suwa hifzi farashadini ila tarqi ma'asi fa'inna al-ilma nurun min ilahi wa nurullahi la yu'ta li'asi. So he complained to, and Imam Shafi was a great poet. Many people don't know this about Imam Shafi, but he was a very great poet. And then the poets of his time said that, you know what, you have fiqh, you have jurisprudence, just leave the poetry to us. So Imam Shafi rahmatullahi, he said that I complained to my teacher Waqi about my poor memory. And which day? About my poor memories. What's the matter with me? What am I doing wrong? Why don't I have this power to retain, this power of retention? So Waqi, he said, he advised me that leave sin. Tark, leave sin. Stay away from sin, protect yourself from sin. Because this ilm, this knowledge of Rasulullah, this knowledge of Quran, this is nur. This is the light from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is nur from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is not given to the asi, it is not given to the sinner. It is not given to the sinner. So it is imperative that, I should add one more thing, that with raghbat, with hirs, with tamassuk, one additional thing, stay away from sin. That each and every single one of us, we should strive to stay away from sin. Hazrat Abdullah bin Mas'ud, radiyallahu anh, when he was sent to Kufa, most of us are Hanafis, and the majority of Hanafi fiqh, it has passed from Imam Abu Hanifa to his students, Imam Muhammad and Imam Abu Yusuf. So Imam Abu Hanifa was the student of Ahmad bin Abi Sulaiman, who was the student of Ibrahim Nakhai, who was the student of Alqama and Aswad, who were students of Abdullah bin Mas'ud, who was the student of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Abdullah bin Mas'ud, his relationship with the Prophet ﷺ was such, this comes in Tirmidhi, that Hazrat Huzaifa bin Yaman, radiallahu anh, the keeper of secrets, he is narrating this, that we thought him to be from Ahl Bayt, that his interaction with the Prophet ﷺ was so common, it occurred so often, that we thought that he was part of Ahl Bayt, that we thought that he was part of the family of Rasulullah ﷺ. He was Sahibu Siwak, Sahibu Siwak, Sahibu Na'li Rasulullah ﷺ. He was the carrier of the biswak and the chappals, the slippers of the Prophet ﷺ. So he acquired so much from Rasulullah ﷺ, and Hazrat Umar radiallahu anh knew this. So at that time, Kufa, it came under the governorship of Islam. So they needed a teacher. So the Umar radiallahu anh sent one person. Umar radiallahu anh sent one person. He said that you're sending us one person, we are so many. So he goes, that one person is sufficient. Kanifun mulya ilma. That he is a vessel full of knowledge. He is a vessel full of knowledge. When Hazrat Umar radiallahu anh visited Kufa, he saw the students of Hazrat Abdullah bin Mas'ud, and they had occupied the whole horizon. These were the students of Hazrat Abdullah bin Mas'ud. That tahsil ilm, this was his desire. The desire was there. The desire of acquiring knowledge, the desire of carrying on the legacy of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was there. Thus, and they had that desire to disseminate this legacy. This is a responsibility, to disseminate and impart the teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If we do not do this, then our relationship with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is naqis. It is deficient. That part of being an ummati of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's ummah is that not only do we take the wirasat left behind, the inheritance left behind, but we also distribute, we also impart and disseminate and promulgate the teachings of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is something that, this program that we have this week, we should have these three, we should keep these 3 points in mind. Ragbat, hirs and tamassuk, and one other, which I added, is that we need to make firm azam, we should have this conviction to stay away from sin. Jazakallah khairan. Inshallah, I conclude over here. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Jazakallah khairan.
Jazakallah. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi.